What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nickel City Mafia. Welcome to the Sunday edition of the Rush Hour. Got a fun show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about the results of the combine, how it helped certain players, how it maybe didn't help. And we're kind of going to go from a Bills perspective, looking at our picks in the first, second, all the way probably up to the fifth, maybe all the way to seventh. I don't know. But we're going to talk about some of those prospects that really could be guys the Bills are targeting. We do know they talked to a few of these prospects already. We'll talk about that as well. Joining me tonight is Jake Podger, as always. Cody Smith, you should be familiar with him. He's been joining us quite a bit. And we got a new guest, Mr. Baker. I'm going to call him Baker because that's all he's put on his screen name there. Mr. Baker, how are you doing tonight? It's from the
I'm doing
Texas.
well, representing from Houston with Cody. Cody and I are the two Texans fans. We got to give y'all some localized Houston content. So I'm really,
Yeah,
really happy to be joining y'all. Podger, Mike, thank y'all so much for having me.
yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it. We were. It took a while, Jake, to ink the deal with Mr. Baker. He was stubborn, just like your brother was. I just hope he shows up more than your brother did. And as a matter of fact, your brother never did make. He never made it onto one live show. Took the money and
Unreal.
ran.
I
So
know it.
good stuff there. I see Trek Reviewer coming out there supporting us. How you doing, Trek Reviewer? Hopefully you're staying around to kind of hear some of these guys that we're going to be talking about. Weston, always good to see you, sir. How you doing? Thanks for joining us tonight. So, Jake, let's kind of get into it. So, in the first round, I don't waste any time. I don't waste anybody's time at all. And how valuable that is to everybody. But let's talk about the first round. And Jake, for me, I'll start, and then I'll throw it to you, and we'll get Cody and Mr. Baker's perspective. But for me, I am I am all defense. I am team defense first and second round. So in the first round, I'm looking for a D tackle. I'm looking for an edge player and maybe a safety. There's a really good safety that the Bills talk to one of the prospects, and this dude's amazing. But I'm really D tackle and edge, and I know you. I want to hear your perspective. Who you thinking the Bills are targeting? And would they stretch? Would they potentially reach for a wide receiver? I hope not. But what are your thoughts there?
To me, I definitely think we're looking more defense than offense. However, I know that we did also do our due diligence, as we always would. Met with some offensive players, specifically at the receiver position. Now, I made a short a couple days ago that came out on the channel. Check it out if you have a chance. I know Cody is in love with this young man as well. I commented on your guys' last show, and one of the two guys that I would like the Bills to see had a phenomenal. I felt actually both of them had a pretty good combine, but I felt like this guy apparently is going to be the first receiver taken off the board, and Matthew Golden. So I do want to give my flowers to him because I feel like that is a guy that could be an immediate difference maker for the Buffalo Bills. One of the things that we've been searching for really since maybe John Brown left after his 1,000-yard season campaign, and then like he had a 400-yard season after that and then got injured and whatnot. We need a guy that can stretch the field and separate. And I feel like Josh hasn't gotten that. I mean, we've gotten bits and pieces of it, but we really haven't had a consistent guy that could stretch the field and get over the top. So I am here to vouch for Matthew Golden if we have an opportunity to somehow take him in the first round. But apparently there's a rumor now suggesting that he will be the first receiver taken off the board after this guy goes and runs 4.29, and didn't do a whole lot at the combine, honestly, but he did run his 40 and beat his teammate Isaiah Bond, who claimed he was going to break the record that Xavier Worthy set last year. And he ran like a 4.4. So still fast, but not record-breaking fast. So just to see what Matthew Golden was able to do out there a lot faster than I even thought. I thought he was maybe going to be a high 4.3 guy, which still, I mean, that's fast as hell. But that's a dude that I honestly, if the Bills have an opportunity in any way, shape, or form, I would be okay with taking in the first round. Now, realistically, the position of need, I would say the biggest at most right now is defensive tackle. We need a true one technique. We are so we have these tweeners, these hybrid guys that can do both. I love Dwayne Carter, but to me, he is not a one tech. Like, we need a guy that is Daquan Jones, but maybe 4 years, 10 years younger, please. That is a position where, it is proven to be so beneficial, especially for our edge guys, and just in general. I mean, it's common sense. You have a good interior defensive line; it helps everyone else around him. So, to me, a guy that I actually felt like his stock maybe dropped a little bit, but could be good for the Buffalo Bills is Kenneth Grant. Supposedly dealing with an injury, but that is a dude that I would love to see the Bills take at 30. I'm not too concerned about the injury. I think this dude is well worth it. He's just a freaking monster of a human being, over 330 pounds. And I'll tell you what, his tape flashes for me. So I feel like that is a guy that I would be targeting there. The other guy, if we don't go defensive tackle, I'm willing to go with a corner / hybrid guy that could play just about anywhere on the field. And by that, I say Jahdae Barron out of Texas. I love this kid. As far as just who you want, as far as a locker room guy, character guy as well, I mean, he checks all the boxes. I think he ran 4.39. Didn't do a whole lot at the combine. I think his arm size was a little shorter than people anticipated. But to me, the fact that he could really play just about any position in the secondary, including corner, which is probably what he's going to be in the NFL, just really all about it. I'm totally here for that. I would not mind taking a guy like that at 30. So those are 3 prospects right there, Mike. I'm going to let some of these other guys talk. By the way, Cody, is that a Dare Ogunbowale jersey in the background there? I freaking love that.
That is the Daria Ogunbowale jersey.
Dude.
I think the first time on this show, actually, I said that I was going to, as soon as he kicked a field goal in a game, I was like, that's it. No chance. I'm getting the Dario Ogunbowale jersey.
Yes.
And I finally got it. It's also the what do they call them, Brian? The neon blue trim ones that are kind of like the shot
The
at
city
the Oilers.
jerseys.
Yeah, the H-Town, H-Town jerseys, basically. Yeah.
The H-Town blue ones. Had to get one,
Love it.
and it had to be in Ogunbowale.
Dude, that is awesome. You may be the only human being on earth right now that has that outside of like his family. So love it.
Had to
Very
do it.
cool.
Had to do it. One of my favorite players. Hopefully Texans sign him back, or maybe takes a trip on up to Buffalo as well. He's a fantastic role player on a team.
For sure.
I agree, though, for Buffalo Bills needs, the offensive side, it's just not exactly where I'd be investing the high capital. And I love all the guys that you mentioned. And there's just after the combines that they had and after a little bit of buzz, it seems like a lot of those guys are probably going to be going higher, especially that Matthew Golden, who just absolutely blazed. And I have true concerns about Isaiah Bond, actually, knowing either how to count to 4.3, 4.2, 4.1, or not knowing what the distance of 40 yards is. That was just, to get dusted by your own teammate is pretty ridiculous. But I would go back to that defensive side of the ball as well. And a couple of the guys that stood out to me, originally right at the top, D tackles where I'd probably go first. One of the guys that really stood out to me, Darius Alexander. Coming out of combine, I'm typically going to go, especially on defensive side, since I'm not film over there. It's going to be a lot of RAS score for me, that relative athletic score. Put up a 9.72 unverified or uncompleted. We'll get all those actual results and finalized results in here over the next couple of days, and they have them. They just don't have the RAS scores posted for them yet. But Darius Alexander, D tackle out of Toledo, posting up that high. He's a 6'4" guy, 305, definitely can clog up the middle of a defense. And then if you go down a little bit further, I got another guy that's a little bit deeper, but another one that really showed out, Ty Robinson, D tackle out of Nebraska. Don't think he'd be going in a first-round guy, but maybe one of those second-round picks. He posted up a 9.87 RAS score as well. Really, there truthfully wasn't too many fallers that I had outside of this in this D-line group. Really, everybody tested fairly well that I thought was going to test. But those 2 guys specifically were ones that definitely stood out to me, that could either slip to the back end of the first for y'all or maybe into those second-round picks.
I do have a faller for you, and I'm very disappointed by this because just looking at height, weight, prototypical defensive lineman, and actually a guy that's been comped to Jordan Phillips. And if we're talking prime Jordan Phillips, 9.5 sack Jordan Phillips, not the future Jordan Phillips coming into the NFL, but Buffalo Bills Jordan Phillips, Deion Walker from Kentucky. Tough combine for him, man. I think he only jumped 25 inches for his vertical, 8'8" broad jump. Just didn't even run a 40. Did not really test well. He looked stiff during drills, just really, after a great Senior Bowl week, I felt like he could totally capitalize on that, and that was going to be a guy that was going to climb into the first round, after a very up and down senior year. But still a guy that I'm going to keep my radar on. Maybe a dude that falls onto, an early or late day 3 pick now, or day 2, day 2 pick now. So love that guy, but probably one of the biggest fallers at that position for me.
And that's Trek Reviewer's guy. Yeah, he hit us
Yeah.
up in the Discord. Really loves that guy. So we'll see. What do you think, Trek Reviewer, about what Jake's saying? And it's interesting because even that guy, Deion Walker, I'm always like, these big dudes, when I look and they don't do bench press, I get concerned. Now maybe there's an injury I'm not aware of, but he didn't participate in the bench. All he did, he did a vertical, like you said, 25, and his broad was 8'8". But why are you not participating in the bench press? Maybe there's something wrong. Maybe I'll give him that. But I agree with you there. And Mr. Baker, I know you and Cody really specialize in the offensive side of things, but are you looking at defensive side of things at all as well?
Yeah, so I'm actually a defensive guy.
Beautiful.
Played free safety my whole life, so I look at the defensive side much kind of more than the offensive side of things. I like to understand the defense. I know how to beat it. That's the only reason I even deal with the offensive side. As far as Matthew Golden is concerned, I went to 4 UT games in person this year. And kind of, got a good feeling of Matthew Golden, all that. I'll tell you this, when we were first going to those games, you talk to the people that are in the stadium. I'm not a Longhorn by any means, but you talk to the people in the stadium, you try to get a feel for what they're looking for. Isaiah Bond. And then by the time we're at that 3rd or 4th game, it was Matthew Golden. Isaiah Bond kind of underperformed this year. And I don't think that, I think that was very, very surprising to a lot of people who had him projected as a first-round pick coming into the 2024 season. Matthew Golden stepped up, and along with Gunnar Helm, who may have destroyed his entire ankle at the combine this weekend, but they played really well with Quinn Ewers. They were able to get the ball away from him and kind of go from there. But Golden was just super impressive. I don't think the Bills need a wide receiver. In the first round, I don't think that is where y'all need to go right now to take it to the next level. But I mean, if you got Matthew Golden, I mean, the Chiefs have been doing this forever. They just draft a 4-2 wide receiver every single draft, it seems like, and it's working out for them just fine. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how Golden, or if Golden falls to y'all. If Golden did fall to y'all, I'd take him. Might as well, right? Unless there's some sort of defensive line in there that really would benefit y'all more than Golden. But I don't know. It's a pretty talented guy if he falls to y'all. Are y'all at 25 this?
30.
Oh, 30. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
it's going to be tough.
Okay.
I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
right.
My thing is, too, it's such a strong defensive line class. I mean, both edge and D tackle, I feel like edge even more so. I mean, shoot, your boy. Yeah. How about, whatchamacallit? Shamar Stewart, man. Holy smokes. Talk about a guy that popped. I'll let you guys talk about him because I know you're A&M guys. Or are you an A&M guy too?
Yeah. I was in College Station for about 6 years.
Okay.
My entire dad's side of the family is all Longhorn, so that's how I get to go to those 4 or 5 Longhorn games a year, and I'll always go. I mean, DKR is a really fun spot. I love Kyle Field, and I try to. I mean, Cody and I probably get at least 2 or 3 games a year as well.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. So no, as I was saying, I mean, defensive line class super strong. So you could still get a guy in late day 2, as I just mentioned, Deion Walker. Although he didn't test great, I mean, shoot, I'd be salivating if I can get a guy like that. Whereas like the receiver position, I feel like it dwindles a little bit after that those initial maybe 5 guys, and then it's kind of like a little bit of a drop.
According to Syracuse,
go ahead,
according
Mike.
to Syracuse.com, Jake, the Bills talked to Bond, believe it or not. I do not have them, again, whether their tracking's up to date. I think you were saying you thought they did talk to Matthew Golden. I don't have him listed. But
I don't think they did, actually, now that I'm looking at it. Yeah, I just got it confused. It was Isaiah Bond from the looks of it here. So,
Sorry, Mr. Baker. What'd you want to say there?
Well, I was just going to say with Stewart, Stewart did not produce a ton for A&M throughout his time there. So he's going to be a very raw talent. I think that whoever gets him, as long as they have the defensive line coaches and the ability to develop him, I think he can turn into something. He can. I mean, he's an athletic freak, obviously. But I mean, we're dealing with Brevin Jordan over here these days as a Texan. I mean, that guy could run through a brick wall at about 22 miles an hour and still keep going 22 after that. But he hasn't really developed as a tight end in the NFL, right? So it'll be interesting to see if he ends up in the right spot. Though I think that Shamar could be an incredible asset for a team.
Yep.
By the way, Jake, I mentioned this to you. We are back on Facebook. Finally, after months and months, Facebook changed the policy for their page. You had to have like 100 people there who followed your page, and we were close. Took us a while to get there, but John Robert coming in with saying Jod Campbell has played linebacker as well as defensive end. So good to see you, John. Thanks for joining us tonight. Let's see here. Let's catch up a little bit. We got Big L out there. Cody and Baker, do you guys think you will keep Diggs or not? Real quick for Big Al. Got to answer his questions.
I'll let Cody go on that on the fantasy side of things, and then I'll address it more on the, I guess, Texans side of things.
Yeah, I've basically maintained that with Nick Caley coming over from the Rams, that we're going to get Cooper Kupp like 100% to fill in kind of that slot role. And then, Diggs can move inside, outside, and he did a little bit last year as well. But it's going to have to make sense monetarily wise. Like, he's already on the books for, I believe, like 17 mil or something dead cap this next year coming up. So Texans are a little bit cash strapped right now. There's a lot of restructures that are probably going to happen after the course or during the course of this offseason. So we can make it work. Diggs, obviously, by all reports, loved it here. Captain is in his first year with the Texans. So I think they want him back. It just kind of got to make sense on a little bit more contractually and make that work.
Yeah, and I'll reflect everything Cody just said there. It's going to have to make monetary sense for us to bring Diggs back. He's not an elderly man by any means, but I mean, by the NFL standards, he's getting up there. He's coming off of a season-ending injury. We'll have to see. I mean, I think that Diggs can be a pretty fiery guy, but he has a pretty good group around him, and guys like Nico Collins, C.J. Stroud, even like a guy like Damian Pierce. A lot of guys that are keeping people grounded, and I think that is what Diggs really needs in order to be successful and to be a good teammate. He's got all of that. We'll see if it makes monetary sense to bring him back. The NFL's a business, so it's up in the air right now. I would not feel comfortable putting money one way or the other on whether or not we bring him back.
Interesting. Has he put anything out there on social media? I don't follow him anymore. I know he's always been well known for putting stuff out there.
He's having some legal issues right now.
Is he?
I think Cody and Podger probably know more about that than I do.
The model. Yeah, there's something going on with like her messing with his phone, some assault charges. Geez. Yeah, it's not great. Doesn't look great. I mean, I think it's against her, but he's kind of involving himself with some people, questionable people to say the least.
There's a lot of that going around in the NFL right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to go back to the first round again. And for me, Jake, Matthew Golden, I was joking with you guys, and I'll put this out there because I said it. I said if the Bills take a wide receiver in the first two rounds, I'm jumping ship to the Dolphins. I'm jumping ship. There is no reason to take a wide receiver at number 30 because, first of all, Brandon Beane, traded back last year, had a shot at Xavier Worthy, took Keenan Coleman against, everything that the experts said doesn't get separation. It was 100%. And I think he's going to have a sour taste in his mouth. And the way we use our wide receivers, I think there's guys later in the rounds that we can take to, get that speedster. And maybe there's even someone in free agency. I saw what Philly did in the Super Bowl. That defensive line, those edge rushers, they make everybody behind you better. And we need it. We need it not only to shut down the run, put pressure. I mean, my goodness, when we play Pat Mahomes, we didn't get much pressure on him. What Philly did was incredible. Now I know it's easier said than done to model that, but still, for me, it all starts up front and just makes everything better behind you. I would say, if anything, maybe a safety. And I'm gonna give you three guys that the Bills talked to that, at least that I'm aware of, that could be potential first round defensive players for the Bills. Kenneth Grant, of course. I love Grant. He only did 22 bench press, like 22 of them. He at least participated. That's the only thing he did. I think he had some type of hamstring or some type of leg injury. I'm not exactly sure what he was dealing with there. Then they talked to edge rusher Mike Green, who I really like, out of Marshall. I'd be plenty fine with him. He's a potential first round. And then the safety, if there was any type of defensive back going to be talked to, that'd be Nick. Let's see if I get his name right. Worry.
Yeah.
Worry from South Carolina. Dude, 6'3", 220, 4'3", 840, 149 split. He pretty much
43-inch
inch vertical,
Yeah.
11.5 inches. And fact check me on Mike Green. Mike Green's an edge. He's 6'3", 251. Actually, no, it was another gentleman Landon Jackson, who had a 40.5 vertical as an edge guy. Is that incredible or what? So anyhow, one of those three guys, the Bills have talked to all three of them. And I think those could be the target. That should be the target for the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. Just saying.
Yeah, you know what? That there's a guy that is really flying under a lot of radars who I think is climbing the boards, and that is Mike Green out of Marshall. Really like this kid a lot. 6'3", 250. Just a freak. I think he had 17 sacks this past year, led the nation, had like 22 and a half TFLs. I mean, just absolutely killed it. Just a high motor, incredible pass rush specialist. And yeah, I mean, the goal, Mike, I think as a Bills fan, and now we're hearing the rumors that the Bills are in the bidding war for Myles Garrett, is to get a guy like that, right? I'm sick of, betting on these first round prospects and them not panning out and then us just playing musical chairs with our defensive linemen. I want a guy that's going to be on the field 100% of the time. I feel like this is a guy that will fit in that type of position. He will be on the field 100% of the time. Super explosive kid, and I am in love with that prospect, Mike Green. Absolutely love him. 28 times on the bench press, too, by the way. So love seeing that. Only thing he did.
I know.
Green's
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Green is that classic kind of boomer bust guy. He's either going to be a fantastic player for y'all, or he might, fall off. And we'll not know until y'all end up picking him up. I think y'all have a pretty talented defensive line group over there, as far as your coaching and staff and all of that, as far as you're developing that talent, right?
You know what? I feel like we've set the standard so high. We have not had a guy registered 10 sacks on the defensive line. If you want to count Lorenzo Alexander, okay, he was a stand-up outside linebacker, but that's also back in 2016. We haven't had a guy register over 10 sacks at the defensive end position since 2014. I mean, that is and I get it, sacks aren't everything. Pressures, Jerry Hughes was the king of this. He led the league in pressures a lot of years, but I mean, he was the last defensive end for the Buffalo Bills, I believe, to register 10 or more sacks in the season. So you want to see a guy that's going to get home, a guy that's going to make a difference. And you saw what the Eagles did. I mean, in the Super Bowl, their edges were able to rack up the sacks, and it started inside. So that's why I want to start inside, work my way outside. But you need a guy that's going to be able to get home and finish the job and get it done. So to me, I want high productivity. And honestly, as much as it would be great to get a guy like Mike Green, as much as I like him as a prospect, I want a proven veteran there. Go get Myles Garrett, sell the house, go all in. It's time, baby. Let's go. Get a guy like that. I want Mario Williams 2.0 here. Let's go.
And Jerry Hughes has been pretty impressive with the Texans as well.
Yeah.
In his time with us. And then I think he hasn't. I don't think he played.
He was out this past year, right?
Yeah. Right. He was, but he was good for us in 2022 and 2023. Yeah. And obviously, what we have. So we're all all of us here in this group are trying to beat the Chiefs, right? And what the Chiefs are able to do is defend the edge. They can defend the edge. Their tackles aren't exactly the most talented guys in the world, but they can defend the edge pretty well. Andy Reid can really coach up that side of the football. What the Eagles did is they just rushed straight up the middle. They just said, we're going to put our guys on your guys, and we're just going to beat y'all straight up the middle. That's where the Texans really lacked this year. We had Will Anderson on the outside, right, and gosh, now I'm blanking on the other my other edge guy. Cody, help me out here.
Daniel Hunter.
Yeah, Daniel Hunter. Yeah, the Houstonian.
Tough to blank on a guy like that.
I'm blanking on him. My goodness. But so Hunter and Anderson obviously were very, very dominant, but we didn't have that type of pressure coming up the middle. and therefore the Chiefs were able to scheme to handle Daniil and Anderson, and then just were able to basically go one-on-one on the interior guys and take care of it that way. You need to have an interior to beat the Chiefs, and that's what we need to do in order to get the Super Bowl. So I think an interior line is going to be super, super important in this draft, and I think there are a lot of guys out there that can make an impact in the interior line that the edge are kind of overshadowing right now.
I agree. By the way, your interior guys, Mike, you'll remember him. Tim Settle is one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I love Tim Settle.
Texans. I do too, but I don't know if that should be your anchor. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's the guy
Didn't
for
pan
it.
out
No,
in
he's a
Buffalo.
Jag. He's a Jag, but I love the Jags. You got to have the
For
Jags.
sure.
The
Me too.
just
No.
the guys, you got to have them
Absolutely.
on the team.
Yep.
Jake, who was
Not
that?
a
You mentioned we didn't have a 10+ sack guy. Didn't we have a guy who came over from LA last year? What was his name?
Leonard Floyd.
Floyd.
He had,
Didn't Floyd have 10?
I think he was at 9.5, I want to say. Hold on. Let me look. Let me
Well,
verify that.
Double check that. So there's a
You
potential.
might be right. I may have screwed that up.
Maybe not.
He did have 10.5 sacks. That is on me.
There you go.
My
There
bad.
you go.
That's
All right.
tough. That's tough. And I'll tell you what, it's so forgettable because he had such a good first half of the season.
Yeah.
The second half really didn't do anything, like Thanksgiving onwards. So that is my fault. I stand corrected, Mike. Way to be
Push-ups.
on me about that. Yeah. Prior to that, though, 2014. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I want to say something. So I listened to one of Bean while he was at the combine, and they were talking to him, and whoever it was mentioned you're building your team to beat the Chiefs, and he says that's not really what we need to do, right? Well, he said yes, of course, and I'm not going to get it exactly right, but in a roundabout way, he said, look, what if the Chiefs get knocked out before they play us, and we play Baltimore and we lose to Baltimore, and I tell my ownership, I'm sorry, we were built to beat KC. Is that okay? You're gonna let me off the hook? No. And then we saw what the Eagles did. Oh my goodness! If the Eagles stay together, now we're all trying to match up against them. And again, it just starts in the middle, Jake. And I'm telling you, man, we just cannot. Like up until last year, the Bills weren't really big on taking wide receivers in the early rounds, were they? Like,
no. I mean, that's another position too. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the Bean era. Keon Coleman was a highly drafted receiver for us. We never have taken a guy in the first round since Brandon Bean's been here. Zay Jones was close.
Yeah, we took a tight end, but I'm talking wide receivers specifically.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe Davis was 4th round. Khalil Shakir 5th round. That panned out great, but yeah, it is interesting. Here's the thing. I mean, do you want to do that again, Mike, where you maybe rely on a guy that can come in as a role player and then develop into a number 1 receiver? Or if you have a shot to essentially, and this is no disrespect to Matt Collins, but say you can replace Matt Collins with a Matthew Golden, still allow Mac to do his thing and sprinkle him in the offense here and there. And that's your true X, right? That's your true outside guy that's going to separate your Santonio Holmes, if you will. I think I'm taking him.
I think you're taking him. All right. Well, I'm not, but I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't hate it. I'm like, cool. But then I'd see us getting beaten up on the defensive side every game. And I'm like, damn it. And then I see us throwing to him 5 times a game. Again, everyone eats. Khalil Shakir just got paid a good amount of money. So it'll be interesting. But I'd love to hear everyone out in the chat or those that watch us on the rewatch. Who you targeting? Who you want the Bills position group to target? Are you open to take a wide receiver? If a Matthew Golden dropped to us at number 30, maybe move up 1 or 2 spots to get him, would you do it? What do you got here, Jake?
Brett, good points here. Oh, I'm just reading Brett's comment. Oh, 1 second. I wanted to bring this up to Alfred Collins. Absolute stud. Love it, Brett. Great name. Absolutely. I would be all about that. Another UT guy for you guys there too. How about it?
Yeah, Texas was a big winner in the combine, along with Iowa State, with Darian Porter, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, and Jalen Travis. Although I think it's Jalen Noel. Yeah.
Yes.
Spelled Noel, but Iowa State was incredibly impressive. So we can change the topic from Texas for a little while here. They have some absolute studs coming out of Iowa State, and that was I mean, they've always had a good team, and I love their head coach. Big 12, obviously we were kind of formerly Big 12, so I've still stuck it out with the Big 12, watched a lot of their stuff. Iowa State's got an impressive program. They're going to put out some really talented guys here. But I think a guy that y'all could talent later in the later in the draft. And I think you'll love this comp, but Jimmy Horn Jr. I think
Oh
I've
yeah.
got him comped with Tim Dwight, who ran a 4.6
Oh
4.40 at the combine, but had a messed
yeah.
up groin, apparently is what his agent said. And I don't know if that's true or not. It's not never been confirmed. His agent said when he ran that 4.64 that he had a bad groin back in like 1998 when he ran that 40. Tim Dwight and Jimmy Horn Jr. have a lot of similarities. They're very kind of elusive, and obviously the return game is going to be there.
Return game.
Jimmy Horn might be a guy that you can implement in your system because he's going to get open. He's going to get open if Allen's running around back there. Because Allen, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, y'all, but Allen's not really a timing guy as much as he is a playmaker in a lot of those big moments, right? He's going to go make a play. He's going to get out of the pocket. He's going to run around. And maybe Jimmy Horn Jr. is a guy that can get open for him. He's shifty, he's fast, and he's got a really, really good understanding of the defense when he's presented with it.
So tell me a little bit more about Jimmy Horn. I don't know nothing about this guy. Tell me, what's his size, weight, what's his 40? Give me some information about
He's
him.
Deion Sanders' favorite kid right now. I don't know if you guys saw that too
5'8".
in the rankings. Absolutely hilarious.
He's like 5'8", 185, I think, something
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
smaller. He's definitely smaller. Yeah, let me get the exact figures
5'8",
on him here.
174, 4.46, 40 out of Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And he was so he transferred. He was a South Florida guy, transferred to Colorado. Didn't put up like crazy numbers or anything like that, but just a very electric player. When you put the ball in his hands, the guy makes plays. And by the way, I mean, it's tough to be that guy when you're behind two other stud receivers, one of those being Travis Hunter. So, Good
you
player,
guys, Cody introduced me to this guy last time we had a show, and it's my cousin Dante Thornton Jr. I mean, he ran the second fastest time for wide receivers, 4.30. He's some ridiculous like six. I don't know, what is he, Cody? 6'5", 6'6", something crazy. Good weight to him. I mean, that's a guy you get later in the round, Jake. I don't know. I think if you're really looking for a speedster, they're there for the taking later on. Anyhow,
I don't know. We've played this game before, though, Mike. It's like, we take these guys like the Justin Shorters, and listen, I get Khalil Shakir panned out, but it's like, if you're gonna just take a receiver, take a freaking dog. Just go all in.
Dog, huh?
You know what I mean? Stop just messing around with these. Maybe fifth round, maybe he'll be a roster bubble guy, but actually, no, he's gonna end up starting for us at the X position throughout the season. He can't do a lot of things, but he can block well. And I get it. That's an important part of the game. But it's like, dude, if you're going to take a guy that's going to be in the offense and be a focal point, take the man in the first round. Get someone that is a knockout home run hitter. Now, again,
fair.
I think I'm more on the defensive side again. I start with that one tech. I'm with John. Absolutely. Kenneth Grant, if he's there at 30, run to the podium. Take him for sure.
I agree. Yeah, he's my top guy, Robert. John, that's who I'm wanting the Bills to take. Walter Nolan, like him as well. Weston telling y'all Devin Neal at running back from Kansas, if he gets on the right team, could be a sleeper running back. So we might as well talk around a little bit about running backs since somebody brought it up. Obviously, we're in pretty good shape with running back. But James Cook's put it out there that he's looking for some money. He put it out there on our social media, $15 million a year is what he's looking for. And I'm not sure, Jake, what your thoughts are on that. Because I think, Cody, I think you told me it was a pretty good running back class. Was that true?
This combine actually was the best historical combine of any combine ever at the running back class. They all smashed. There's only a couple of like maybe slight fallers out of it, but I forget the exact stat, but it's something like 17 running backs posted under like 4.45. It is, from whatever stat they were using, it was the best combine for running backs out of anyone ever since they started recording it in like 75 or something.
So
there's
Jake,
so much out there that determines whether or not a running back is going to be good in the NFL. If they end up in the right system. You look at Dameon Pierce, right, with the Texans again. Sorry, not to bring everything back to the Texans, guys, but Dameon Pierce had a really, really successful season with Lovie Smith at head coach. Running whatever offense we were running. I don't even want to think about it. But then we bring D'Amico in and that kind of more West Coast offense side of things on that, and with Dameon Pierce, he's not really able to get through that zone running scheme near as near as naturally as he was in the power run scheme, right? So it really depends on the scheme. That being said, if you don't come away with a running back and you're looking for a running back that you feel can turn into a prospect, that's probably your fault because there you could trip over a running back at the draft and land on a pretty good one, at least a pretty athletically talented one.
Yeah. Jake, so what's your thoughts on the running back with James Cook? I mean, obviously he really he's been getting better each year. Definitely a guy that I'd love to see back on the Bills. I'm not saying ship him off. The money doesn't even seem too crazy to me. I don't know the going rate for a running back. I think is moved up a little bit based on what happened last year. He's asking 15 million, and again, that doesn't seem outrageous to me if you work the deal right. But you have this in your back pocket. If something was to go wrong, you could pick up another guy. But we already drafted Ray Davis. And I don't know, did we sign Ty Johnson yet? Where are we at with Ty? Because I love Ty. And if he came back,
no resigning yet for him.
Okay.
That is a must resign. Actually, It's hilarious. We talked about this in one of our other shows. Our two must resigns are Matt Collins and Ty Johnson. Who would have thought? Crazy.
Yeah, it's a good comment from John. Yeah, if you trade him, if he wants 15 million, he can't block. He definitely can't block. He whiffed on that last series against the Chiefs. That's why they took him out pretty quick. But I don't know. He's a game breaker. We haven't had really a game breaker in a while, Jake. He's taken the ball to the house a couple times, plus 50 this year. Can catch the ball. Didn't put the ball on the ground at all. I thought he just really, other than the blocking thing, but a game changer. So thoughts?
Here's the thing I'll say about that. I feel like these contracts they're talked about, they're scrutinized so many times over and over again. And it's always the next guy that signs a contract that's going to be the highest paid guy, right? So, while you can sit here and say like he's not as good as Saquon Barkley or Josh Jacobs, and those guys are getting paid on average $12 million a year, the next running back contract for a good running back is going to still be in that range. So I understand 15 million, that's a lot of money. But by the way, the Bills are going to be getting some money back, and there's going to be maybe some post-June first cuts, Von Miller, cough, cough, that may happen where we can, mess around with the money. James Cook's going to be 26 at the start of the season. And I'll tell you what, I mean, he's coming off his best year as a pro. He fits extremely well in this offense. Yeah, he can work on his blitz pickup and whatnot, but this is a guy that I want to work hard to re-sign. I feel like even at, maybe meet him halfway. Like it might not even have to be exactly 15 million. And you can structure it where it's like the Khalil Shakir deal where you can have like a 2-year out almost. So, you can almost front load it or do something where it's a total contract of, maybe it's 4 years, 60 million, but the guaranteed money isn't a full 60 and it might be half guaranteed, something like that. Right. I think you got to make him earn his keep, pay the man, but make him earn that 15 million a year if you're going to do it. And just allow him to flourish in this offense and keep that core chemistry with Josh and having that running game. And I get it. Like it's a plug and play thing with the Buffalo Bills, like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, both 8, but like James Cook still offers something that those guys don't. I mean, this guy gets to the edge, can get to the pylon on these outside runs like those guys are unable to do. So I just feel like to have all 3 of them and bring them back and run it back, that'd be fantastic. So
yeah,
I think you got to do all you can to bring them back.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot of tread on this tire, man. I mean, he didn't have a lot of snap counts in college.
Yep.
Comes in pretty fresh, unlike his brother. And here he is. Even last year, we had 3 guys that would rotate in. Of course, Cook got the majority of the snaps, but still, he's fresh. He's going to be in the prime of his career, and I'm for it. Keep him. And the market.
And what does that say? I mean, sorry to interrupt too, Mike.
Yeah.
But what does that say if you extend? And I love Khalil Shakir, but what does that say if you extend Khalil Shakir, but you don't get something done with James Cook?
Yeah.
And I get it; they're different positions, but the market is inflated as a whole right now. I feel like maybe outside of the tight end position, the market is super inflated. So you got to get it done. You got to make it happen.
Cody or Mr. Baker, got anything to say about Mr. James Cook? What's your thoughts on the running back?
Cody, I was going to ask you, where do you have Cook on like fantasy redraft rankings right now?
He's probably going to slot in running back 7, running back 10, something like that. The problem with him is just most of his production was touchdown based this year. If you want to go into like a fantasy football side of it, got over his 1,000 yards on the ground and through the air, but I think it was 16, 17 touchdowns. That's just going to account for a lot of it. And if Josh Allen starts to take some of that goal line work back, then you get a little bit nervous about it. And I agree. I would definitely re-sign Cook. The 15 million gives you a little bit of worry, but we're also seeing the NFL cap rise each and every year at like an 8% clip because the NFL is the biggest and baddest sport in all of the US. And I'm going to say the world too. You can mess off soccer.
Hell yeah.
But if you weren't to, and you were to draft, like there's going to be so many guys throughout this draft, and that'd be the argument to not do it, right? Is kind of RB is that recyclable, replaceable position. And if you can get somewhat of a similar production out of the draft for a cost-controlled contract over the next 4 years, you could get a guy in the second, like any of the Caleb Johnson, Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson. I'm going to go for my guy Cam Scadaboo, Quinshawn Judkins. You can even go for the combine guy. I mean, freaking Bashaw Tootin out of Virginia Tech absolutely smashed and flew in that 40-yard dash. So, I mean, there is guys if you want to go that way. But it is always better. Like I'm always a guy that's going to be stick with what you know. And if you have the money to do it, I would definitely just keep James Cook. But if it doesn't work out, there is at least a lot of replaceable guys in this draft who we think could step into that role.
People get so obsessed with the figures too. And it's like, man, it's a few $1 million. You know, it's the NFL. It's the biggest, baddest business. The salary cap rose by $23 million or something like that. Like at the end of the day, if he is proven that he is consistently a good back in this offense, why aren't you keeping him? Especially at the age that he's at. He's 25 years old. He's going to be 26 at the beginning of the year, coming off his best year as a pro. I mean, bring it back. Do what
the Texans lost out on Saquon Barkley by about $3 million. And obviously we brought in Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon was obviously a very talented back. I really enjoyed having Joe Mixon on the team this year. But we lost out on Saquon by about $3 million, right? So that's not a lot of money to keep somebody on your team and not have to develop them and all that. It's just, it'll depend on how y'all see how your, coaching staff and general management see the running back position. It's all a philosophy thing with the NFL. Some teams value the running back a lot more than others, but I do think we're seeing the table turning a little bit more to where more teams are valuing the running back position a little bit differently than we've seen in years past.
Yeah. I want to answer this question here. I want to throw it to Jake for this. First of all, I want to remind everyone, if you're, please smash that like button. We greatly appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, drop a nickel on that subscribe button. It truly is free. We do this every week, and then towards season, we go 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Sundays. Sometimes you'll see us Wednesdays, sometimes Sundays. So appreciate you all. Couldn't do this without you. Advanced Hood Cleaning Solutions says, how can we trust Bean to make D-line picks? At Oliver, Russo, Epinesa, Bookie Basham, 0 game changers, Jake. If a game-changing D lineman is the biggest need, trade the picks for someone proven, Myles Garrett. And that could happen. That could happen for sure. That's what we're hoping happens. I mean, what we have here in the first and second could be completely changed if that deal goes through. But your thoughts on this, Jake?
I disagree with the Eddie Oliver thing. Now, it is fair to say maybe we don't see enough of it, but I do think that it was a good pick. Now, Greg Rousseau, very inconsistent at times, flashes, does great things. Other times, I mean, talk about the Kansas City Chiefs game, maybe his worst game of his career. So you want to see a guy rise to the occasion in big moments. And I'll agree. I mean, I think in big moments, all of these men that you named here really, I mean, I don't know if they've necessarily gotten it done. So that is fair. I do agree with hey, you want to go for a game-changing player, go and trade for Myles Garrett. Go and trade for a guy that is not a project, that is going to play 100% of the snaps. Stop playing musical chairs with these defensive linemen and go get it done. Our time is running out. This window, it's there. It will always be there as long as you have Josh Allen. But as he does get older, he is going to lose that element of his game where he can run the football, hurdle guys, do all the things he's doing. He's going to have to adapt, and I don't want to think about that right now. I think we still got another 3 or 4 years before we have to start worrying about that thing. But shoot, do what you got to do to get that done. Max Crosby, too. I mean, we didn't even talk about him. I think I'm more on the Myles Garrett side of things. But if we're able to get Max Crosby instead, whatever. Go do it, please.
If Ed Oliver was a third or fourth round pick, he'd be a star at the Buffalo Bills fandom. You know, the fact
Yeah.
is he was the ninth overall pick, right? So that comes with its certain standards. You look at his career accolades, and they kind of cut off at college. You know, he hasn't done a
Mhm.
whole. He's been a very serviceable player. Again, if he'd been a third, fourth, fifth round pick, he would just be. He'd be a
Knockout.
great. Yeah, exactly. But he was the ninth overall pick. That's going to come with a certain level of territory. I love Ed Oliver, Houston guy, went to Westfield High School, you know. So there's a lot that I've watched Ed Oliver's career. I love that y'all had Von Miller. You know, do y'all still have Von Miller? Is he still on contract with
Oh
y'all?
yeah. Yep.
He
Yeah. We
hasn't
still
done
have him.
anything. He hasn't done anything for y'all. But I love that the Aggie is still running around, you know, with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because that contract that we gave Von, we gave it to him at age 30, right? So you're going to sit here and argue that Myles Garrett's 29 years old. By the way, Von Miller, his first year as a Buffalo Bill, was absolutely killing it. The guy had like 8 sacks in 10 games, and then he had a very bad injury that occurred, a torn ACL that put him out for the rest of the year. Has not been the same player since. If that doesn't happen, things may be different, and that contract probably looks a lot better. I feel like there was this constant pressure too to like have him on the field because we were paying him so much money, and that honestly disrupted a lot of the other guys' ability to perform. I mean, it seemed like when he wasn't on the field, Greg Rousseau actually rose to the occasion and played better football. Whereas when he was on the field, it almost just messed things up, whether it was chemistry or whatever it is. So yeah, go get the guy that's going to be on the field 100% of the time and a for sure just dog. And I get it. It's going to be a lot. I'm sure they're going to be asking for a lot. I know they've already declined some trade offers, but the fact that the Bills are in the running or bidding for it is encouraging to me.
So what
And
are y'all
Joe,
reasonably giving up for Myles Garrett? Mike and Podger, what are y'all
I was
reasonably
just
giving up
gonna
for
ask
Myles
that
Garrett?
question. I was gonna ask
Yeah.
that to John as well, and then yeah, Jake, what are you willing to give up?
Well, it's a good question. I think you're going to have to probably part ways with at least one first round pick. It's probably a first rounder. We do have 2 second round picks, so we could go first and second for Myles Garrett. I don't know if that'll even get it done. He's got a big contract too, so you got to remember that he signed a big extension with the Browns. So maybe there is some leeway with that. I don't know if I want to give up a first and a second though. That's the thing too. But the fact that we do have 2 second rounders might make it okay in my books. Yeah, that's a hard question. I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
I'm definitely willing to give up the first this year, and maybe even the one next year or down the road. I'm willing to
Yeah.
go that far. If it takes a first and a second from this year and a first down the road, yeah. I mean, if I'm all in, Jake, I got to be all in. And so yeah, I'm willing to give up the farm if that's even a term.
First and second rounder, boom. Send
Yeah,
it.
and potentially down the road as well. I'll give him something. They might want a player too. Who knows? If there's a player involved, again, the picks that we give up for the draft picks might be slightly different. But if we had to give up Groot or Epinesa, love you guys, but it's time to move on.
Who's not going to like this is Sean Kula. He is not going to like what we were giving up for Myles Garrett. I think he'll like the fact that we're trading for Myles Garrett, but he's going to say we gave up too much. But I don't know. I mean, if we can get a guy that's going to 15 sacks and 22 TFLs and take us to the next level, I'm good with it.
He's been all talking about it. So, again, John, let me know. What are you willing to give up? And so, good question there, Brian. Thank you. Well, good discussion. We're 48 minutes in. We kind of talked about the first round and a bunch of other stuff. And I guess we might as well fill in some other big news that came in, right? Deebo Samuel traded away for a 5th round pick. Did he go to the Commanders? Is that who he went to?
Yep.
Goes to the Commanders. Nice pick, 5th round. And a lot of Bills fans, I know us in our group chat, like, are you kidding me? 5th round pick? Why aren't we making that move? There's your guy, Jake. I mean, I think he's a decent speedster guy, but come on, there's your guy, 5th round.
Yeah, it's more so about the contract. I believe they're going to pay him $17.9 million or something like that this year. So he's got a big contract that he signed with them, and the injuries have kind of stacked up a little bit. Now, albeit he's still a great player, he's a game changer, and the dude, I mean, he's been really good in this league for several years now. However, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2021. He had a 1,400-yard season where he had like 6 receiving touchdowns and 8 rushing touchdowns, which is nuts. He played part running back, part receiver for them. Has not been the same player since then just because of the injuries, but still, when healthy, is a very good player. He is 29 years old, though, so you think about the contract and, I get just a 5th rounder, but you're still taking that on. And, the Commanders are able to do it. They had the cap space.
Okay, so that's interesting. So you confirm that the Commanders are taking on some of that money.
Yes, that's what I've seen, at least, from Shefty.
All right. Good stuff.
And we were saying the same thing on the Houston Texans side of things. Debo's around for a 5th. Maybe that's something that we should look at, right? But what it has done is probably guaranteed Cooper Kupp is going to at least get some look at from the Houston Texans, which is why I'm kind of shy on whether or not Diggs is going to be back. If Cooper Kupp ends up on the team, I would say that Diggs is he's just not going to be here. It'd be too many mouths to feed at that point. We've got Tank Dell, who is hopefully going to be all right. I mean, that was a gnarly leg injury that he suffered towards the end of the season here. And kind of going back to Jimmy Horn, that would be my only real concern about Jimmy Horn, because I do think you can probably get him in the 4th round. And Cody, does that sound about right? Maybe around the 4th round there for Jimmy Horn Jr.
Yeah, I don't think he's a day 2 guy, so he's probably 4th, 5th.
Yeah, and he's obviously that undersized guy at 175 pounds. Tank Dell is 175 pounds, but he can be an absolute game changer when he's on the field. And I think if we have Cooper Kupp, Nico Collins, you've got Dalton Schultz as well, and then Tank Dell, I think that's going to be a pretty good lineup there. I don't know where Stephon would fit in that lineup.
It's a hell of a lineup. Damn.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Wow.
So Ryan, you're right there with me. I'm right there. 1st this year, 2nd this year, and the 1st next year. Definitely.
That's the house. That's a sellout right there. I mean, that's a Super Bowl or bust for 2 years right there.
I think that's what it takes, though. Truthfully.
Yeah.
Brian, Jake and I have had this discussion. Like, if the Bills sold out and we're able to get a Super Bowl, but down the road we're going to struggle. We're going to another mini drought. Although the Rams showed that they didn't take long to recover. I'm down for it. Let's get it done. Let's get the ring. And I don't really see, you sell out for one player. I don't see a 1st round pick and a 1st round pick next year just saying that you're going to struggle years down the road. I don't see that at all. But yeah, I'm all for it, man. You give me a bowl, give me a ring. I'm down for it. Whatever it takes.
The Astros lost I think 1,000 games over the course of 5 seasons, and then we've gone on a pretty good tear since then. Trust me, you'll do anything once you start winning. It's worth it. It's worth it once you start winning. That's for sure.
Amen, brother. Yeah, and this isn't Von Miller again. I hate to bring it back to this, but like people are so scarred from this deal that we made with Von Miller. I mean, Von Miller wasn't coming off a 14-sack season when we signed him, right? Like this is Myles Garrett in his prime, defensive player of the year, like last year, was still in the running this year, like led the league in TFLs. Guy is a difference maker, an immediate difference maker. I mean, get it done. Please, just go get it done. Make it happen.
Yeah, John, you bring up a great point, but that's the risk. I mean, that's what happened with.
All right, John, I'm willing to take it.
I'm willing to take it. I am too.
Go look up. Just do me a favor. Just go to Pro Football Reference. Go look at Myles Garrett's numbers right now, and I'll tell you what. Boom, they pop. It's beautiful.
Look at Myles Garrett shirtless. That should.
Well, that too.
All you need.
And he's an A&M guy. You guys would love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I want to ask. Chad's a good friend of the channel here. I want to make sure we respond to him. He's like, thoughts on us tagging Trey Smith Weston? Oh, that's a question for Weston, I guess, but we'll answer it too. What's your thoughts on that, making that tagging him there, Jake?
Great move. Yeah, I think, he's one of the best guards in football. I know struggled a little bit in the Super Bowl, but this is a guy that is a staple for that offensive line. You need that guy. I mean, this is maybe your best guard since Will Shields. You guys have had some good ones, but this guy's a dog. Trey Smith, very, very good player. Him and Joe Tooney returning back to the guard position hopefully this year so you guys can go take a tackle in the 1st round, get it done right, solidify that offensive line. Yeah, I think it's a great piece for you. So great move by the Chiefs.
All right. Well, listen, since I don't think we're going to pivot a little bit. let's just talk about, we kind of know the needs, right, Jake? We talked about defensive tackle. We talked about edge. We talked about safety. We talked about wide receiver. Um, and those are the major ones. So I don't want to, obviously we'll take shots in our fifth, sixth, seventh round picks, but let's talk about some of those guys on the D line, the other wide receivers. Like we got 2 picks in the second round. If I was going to go offense at all, Jake, and if I was going to make a move for a receiver, I might target there. We don't have a third. We have fourth round picks. Um, but again, I'm hoping we don't. But again, let me go to Cody and Brian. Do we got anyone in the second round, basically that elevated in the combine, or maybe even didn't need the combine to elevate for the second rounds? Talk to me. It'd be a late second. I think we're at 50 and 62, Jake, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's right.
So talk to us, guys.
Yeah, there's a good amount of guys that I actually kind of like coming out of the combine in that second round. Obviously, first round guys, you're probably going to not be able to get a Tet McMillan, Igbuka, Burden, Golden. But then you get into that later second round. I think there's a couple of guys, both of the guys that we mentioned earlier out of Iowa State had really good combines, both Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. They both had really, really good combines. Jaden Higgins, I think, would be more of the fit. I think Noel would probably fill more of that like Shakir role that you don't really need exactly. But Jaden Higgins, he's came into combine at 6'4", 214, runs a 4.47 out of Iowa State. Can definitely play that X boundary receiver to either replace an Amari Cooper or kind of play alongside of Keon Coleman if he doesn't take the progressions that we want to see in year 2 here. And then there's a couple of the guys. Trey Harris, 6'2", 205 out of Ole Miss, ran a 4.54. Elikia Manor, 6'2", 206 out of Stanford with a 4.44. And then I know Podgers mentioned him before, Jalen Royals out of Utah State, 4.42, 6 foot 205. And then even Jack Besh was mentioned in the chat earlier out of TCU. He didn't run at the combine, but 6'1", 214. I see any of those guys going in the second round. And as much as this wide receiver class isn't all that it was hyped up to be, it's just because we've been spoiled over the last couple of years with these guys coming out and just smashing like a Malik Neighbors and a Brian Thomas Jr. I don't think we have that this year, but I think there's some very good targets that you could get into in that second round.
It's important to remember too, with a guy like Isaiah Bond, he did himself no favor saying that he was going to run faster than Usain Bolt at the NFL Combine, but he did have the fastest top speed of any wide receiver. He struggled at Texas. We don't know if that was maybe the Sarkisian offense. We don't know if maybe that was Quinn Ewers. I was a big Quinn Ewers guy. Everybody at Texas at one point or another probably wanted to see Arch Manning on the field. I really thought Quinn Ewers did the best job that he could with the talent that he has in himself. Isaiah Bond might have fallen a little bit after this combine, and I think that could be a good pickup for y'all. Again, it's just a really, really fast, talented guy who's a bit raw, and I think that he can be developed into a really, really talented player. A guy that I think y'all should stay away from, and I think most guys should stay away from. It's hard for me to say this about a 21, 22-year-old. Tez Johnson did himself no favors this weekend. Unfortunately, he had a really, really poor combine. He's undersized. He's 155 pounds, I think. He was slow on the 40. He ran it twice and was above 4.5 both times. That's going to be a hard sell for even on a late round pick. I just don't know if I see the value there. But there are a ton of wide receivers that y'all can look at that have probably fallen because the wide receiver class is so talented. In the middle, I think that there are a few guys in the top that we know are going to go into the top, but the guys in the middle are you're definitely going to be able to find some talent in there. Podger, what do you think? Who are you looking at wide receiver wise?
Well, I love the Jaden Higgins. Both of you guys. Weston said it earlier, is a huge sleeper. Love Jalen Royals too, but Jaden Higgins. Let's talk a little bit about him because he is comped to one of Mike's like all-time draft crushes. Who he said he'd actually get a jersey of, but the Bills took him. Andre Oshivas, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals. Very similar, speedy guy, tall, lengthy, can go up and get it, make things happen. Red zone guy. I don't know if it's the speed is definitely there. It's not Keon Coleman where you're like, not a fast 40 guy or anything like that. It's totally different game. Wouldn't mind taking a flyer on him in the second or third round if he is available. Again, I prioritize other things over it. If I'm going receiver, I'm going. Boom. I'm going for the money guy. I'm going Matthew Golden all day. That's my guy through and through. But I agree with what you said about Tez Johnson. I was actually just looking it up. I wanted to see what he actually weighed in at the combine too, because I know he's small as hell. He's 5'10", $154, and you're running 4.5.
Oh my goodness.
That's tough. I mean, you're looking at guys like Trendon Holiday who are weighing that much. You remember Trendon Holiday? He was super small. He was like 5'5", though, and $150, right? So you're looking at a guy who's 5'10", $154. I mean, shoot, that is concerning, man. And I like Tez. Great story from him. Him and Bo Nix. I mean, they're like this, I think they live together. I think he's basically like his stepbrother, more or less. But yeah, it just sucks, man. Was definitely expecting him to flash a little bit, and he did himself no favors, which I totally agree with. John, I do want to answer your question about corner. Yeah, Jahdae Barron, I think that's the perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills. If you're going to go with a first-round pick at 30, you're probably going to have to move up a little bit. He's probably climbing the boards. He's maybe top 15 now, in my opinion. I mean, he is that good. 15 to 20, maybe somewhere around there. But the fact of the matter is he's a dual zone corner, and he could play multiple roles, where he can play in the nickel, he could play safety, he could play corner, he could do just about anything you want him to do. You turn on the tape against Georgia, the guy absolutely flashed, super aggressive, good playmaker, smart, very smart, high football IQ. And I don't know if you watched the interview with him during the combine, but the dude is just, I mean, he's locked in, he's focused, and just a great locker room presence too. Everything you love to see.
I think he had a quote basically saying that he has to find a way to care as much as he can about football and not bring his emotionality into it. And I don't have the exact quote there, but a great quote by him. Cody and I right now feel like we're watching College Game Day, and the entire banner has lined up with picks for Texas, basically, right? Everybody's on Texas right now, and I mean, rightfully so. I think they had 15 guys out there at the combine this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they did incredibly well. The Aggies will be there. We'll get there. We'll get there sometime. But obviously the Longhorns are there right now. No, we will, Cody. Don't worry. Mike Elko's going to get us right.
John, you're absolutely right. Cornerback, so a big need. Russell Douglas, don't know if he's going to move on or not. He's going to probably demand a lot of money. Christian Benford, very injury prone. Kyer Elam, a bust, unfortunately. And the Bills definitely need a cornerback, especially with how fragile it seems that Benford's been recently. So the Bills did talk to, 5 of them? Mello Dotson out of Kansas, Cy Alexander out of LSU, Will Johnson out of Michigan, Denzel Burke out of Ohio State, and Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. So those are confirmed. I'm sure there's others. But again, I'm using the Syracuse.com tracking of who they talk to, and so they are also looking, and I wouldn't mind that either in a second round. Again, defense. I said this earlier in the show. If the Bills took an offensive guy in the first 2 rounds, I said I would move on to another team. I'm just joking about that. I've waited 50 plus years. I'm not going to go jump ship, but it would frustrate me. That's all I'm saying. And so it's all defense for me. So good point there, Mr. Roberts. Jake,
Cody,
have you heard? I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Were there corners that interested you, Jake? Because I think there was some nice players
I
out there in the combine.
I personally, I mean, Maxwell Harrison had a phenomenal combine. He ran 4.28. He's definitely a riser on a lot of boards. Not sure if he fits your height and weight regulations there, Mike. I think he's like 5'11", $180, but just fits that zone scheme so perfectly. Would be a nice guy to get for sure. He's definitely a guy. Trey Amos, I really like out of Ole Miss. I think he'd be a nice fit for us. Zy Alexander, I think we did meet with him. You mentioned we met with him out of LSU. Would be a nice pickup. I am interested in the Denzel Burke thing because he's more of like a man corner. And I feel like, there is going to be some more of that man coverage play with this defense, especially considering we got that new safety or new DBs coach.
Right.
So curious to see what we do there. So that was definitely interesting that we visited with him. I like the prospect. I think he'd be a good fit if we do end up going that route. But as of right now, with the scheme as it is, definitely interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Brian, did you have something to say that I cut you off on?
Zy Alexander is interesting, and I'm not Chris Ballard. I'm not a huge RAS score guy. I think there's a lot that goes into that, but the 3.96 RAS score out of 3.96 out of 10 RAS score is not great by Zy Alexander, but that doesn't dictate a good football player necessarily, right? It just dictates kind of the the athleticism, but not necessarily the intangibles. Cody, I know I think dove into Zay Alexander a little bit. What are your thoughts on him and that kind of relatively low, relatively athletic score?
Yeah, obviously, it's just not what you really wanted to see. There are people talking about him maybe being in that like back of the first, but I don't think he did himself really any
he's probably
favors today.
second.
Yeah, first, second guy, and I don't know if he's going to get up there anymore. We'll see but obviously defensive side of the ball, I'm a little bit more Raz focused. So I don't know if they fit scheme or anything, but two of the really big standouts from today, Darian Porter, cornerback out of Iowa State, 999 Raz guy, 6'3", not the Darian Porter. Yeah, 6'3", 195, just jumped through the roof as well. He's really good
Iowa
out
State.
there. Yeah, Iowa State.
Another Iowa State, yeah.
And then Jacob Parrish as well, Kansas State cornerback, also put up a really good day as well. Both of those guys probably falling a little bit further down in the draft, but if you do drop into that late day 2 or even into the 4th round picks, those are some guys that I'd be targeting.
Thanks.
I like it. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. And I'll say this. I think I would rather take a corner than a safety. I know people are still clamoring for a safety, but it's like we took Cole Bishop last year in the 2nd round. I get Taylor Rapp is injury prone, but let's roll with those guys. Let's throw them out there as our 2 starting safeties. Let them play. These rookie defensive players are always better in their 2nd year in the Sean McDermott scheme. So let's let it play out, but I do think corner is something we have to prioritize, especially because Rasul Douglas, you don't really know what's going to happen there. So what I did like about Zay Alexander, going back to him, is the fact that he's a very good run defender. And that's what Rasul Douglas was actually pretty good at. So if you're going to replace a guy like that, I think it's a good fit. He's lengthy and he's got the arm length. But, yeah, the Raz score is tough when you look at it. Man, hate to see it.
How is that possible? For us that don't really get into the Raz score, can you explain it a little bit?
So it just kind of takes everything, your measurables, and then what you do as far as like your combine numbers, and it kind of compiles it all together. I don't know what the exact formula is, but you look at some of these players that have these high RAS scores, it doesn't always necessarily correlate to play on the field, but you love seeing stuff like that, especially at these more skilled positions such as corners, and then like your skill position players as like receivers and running backs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's positionally based as well. So basically they take basically everybody who's ever gone to the combine. They take your height, weight, all of your jumps, your 40 times if you have your agility drills, like your shuttle and everything like that. And yeah, we don't know how the sausage is made in the background or anything, but it basically calculates if your BMI basically is this much and you have these type of measurables along with you at this position, historically over the course of everybody who's come through the combine, you want to have the higher end scores.
And it's not an exact science. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, I think, had like a 4.94 or something RAS score, right? DeAndre is not the most athletic guy out there, but he has a feel to be able to get open in zone defense, and he can make a catch on any part of the field. Now, obviously, as DeAndre got a little bit older, he wasn't able to get near as much of separation and make those fantastic catches, right? Things started falling off, but it doesn't dictate whether or not you're going to be a good football player. It just is it's a metric. It's just like everything else, right? If we all knew what was going to make a good football player, we'd all be a GM right now, right? And even the GMs don't know half the time. It's a crapshoot, and Raz is just it's just a tool. It's just a tool in the toolbox. That's all it is.
It's interesting too. You mentioned that. I just thought of someone. You talk about poor RAS score, and I think he was injured, but he still did all the drills. Jarvis Landry. If you go back and look at his combine performance, he ran like 4.77 for his 40. He had like a 28-inch vertical. I mean, the numbers were just god awful, and he's a Pro Bowl receiver in the NFL. So there you have it. I think he had like a 0.27 RAS or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was something horrendous.
It's one of the worst historical RASs ever.
Awful. Yeah, so bad.
Arian Foster ran a 4.7.
Right? Crazy. Yeah.
So it doesn't take into account their college numbers at all, what they did in their career.
No, none of that. Nope. It's like your size, your
just all combine
numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
And it takes into account like your size and your 40, right? So if you're a 230-pound guy and you're playing, wide receiver, and you run a really good 40, that's gonna bump you up quite a bit. If you run a 4.5 at 230, that's gonna be better than maybe if you run a 4.5 at 210. right? So it takes a lot of that in there. But yeah, like Cody said, we don't really know how the sausage is made on that side of
Yeah.
things. Those guys are way smarter than I'll ever be.
Plus, then you'll see a guy who didn't run the 40, yet he still has a great score. So it's, a lot of these guys seem to pick and choose which one of these drills they're going to run. It's always interesting to me. But just some guys, I want to throw out some guys real quick, and then we'll close this up soon. For me, and these are guys that the Bills have been confirmed to talk to. Kenneth Grant, obviously, Jamari Caldwell, Bills have talked to. Alfred Collins out of Texas. Edge players, edge rushers, Landon Jackson, who again 40.5 vertical. Oh my goodness. Mike Green, potential first round edge, and Hosea Stewart. Also, Bills talked to him as well. So, guys, other guys, Jake, you want to throw out there, and then I'll let Cody and Brian say a few more players, whether it be skilled players or what. Doesn't matter.
No, I did love what Brett said here. Azariah Thomas, or out of Florida State, I believe. Tall, lengthy guy. I don't think he did a whole lot at the combine, but I have watched a little bit of film on him. I think one of the comps is I know Jalen Watson was thrown out there as like a comp. So Weston, you could maybe vouch for that a little bit. I don't know if you know a whole lot about this kid, but started watching a little bit of him. Yeah, he's lengthy. He's got the size. Definitely gives us the ability to play press man. So again, if we end up going in that direction, could be an interesting pickup. But another good name there, Brett.
All right, here.
Deion Walker. Absolutely. Yeah. Ryan said that too. He said Deion Walker bust in the second. Yeah, he had not a great combine, great Senior Bowl, and honestly, that's where you want to see him shine is when he puts the pads on and plays. It's great to be a workout warrior, but at the end of the day, it's whether you can produce on the field. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt at 6'7", 331. I'll take a flyer on that guy in the second round. We have 2 second-round picks as of right now, so would love to see us be able to get a guy like that.
Well, Jake, I mean, he's 6'7". You're giving him a hard time on his vertical of 25 inches.
No, it's just you like to see a little more explosiveness, out of a guy like that, right? But
I'm just saying, Jamari Caldwell, he was 27 inches. He weighs the same weight, and it's like these big guys. Joshua Farmer, who also the Bills talked to, he's 305 pounds. He jumped 29-inch vertical, and again, he's already got a little bit of an edge. He's 6'7". Jake, so give Deion Walker a little bit of break. Maybe it's a bad day, but I don't know. What are you looking for in a guy like that, Jake? You want him to be plus 30? Is that what you're looking for?
I just want to see. Well, I think what really discouraged me was when you looked at what he did during the drills. Like, yeah, he didn't test great, but then you go and you see him doing drills, and he just looked like stiff and like, I don't know. He just looked better at the Senior Bowl than what he did out there on the field. And again, he wasn't wearing pads, so totally different, right? When you're maybe just not wearing pads, you're just a different type of player. So,
well, officially, he was only in the vertical and the broad jump. That's all I had him.
He did defensive line drills, though, I believe, too, like just the positional drills.
Okay,
not like testing.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. All right, so Cody, what about you? Got some guys to throw out there that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'll wrap it out of here with I'll pander to y'all a little bit. And I'll give a little bit of a tease because I'm going to look at a couple more wide receivers that could be in that 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round that really jumped out today or over the last couple of days through the combine testing. Obviously, we've got your cousin Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee that we already brought up. He runs straight lines very fast, and he did that in the combine, and he does it on the field as well. So if you need some guy to just run wind sprints and take the top off, he's definitely your guy. But I got a couple more who jumped out that I haven't looked at yet, but they definitely hit all of your thresholds. Chimere Dike, or Chimere Dyke is how his name looks spelt, but he's out of Florida. I'll definitely dive into him. You also got Isaiah Nayor out of Nebraska, Isaac Tesla out of Arkansas, and those are a couple guys. So I'm gonna look into those guys, watch some film, and I'll dump some of the takeaways in the Discord over the next couple of days whenever I get to looking at them.
Awesome. By the way, the Discord's free to join. The link will be in the description of the show right after this. So join us. We talk sports 7 days a week. We got football, baseball. The only thing we don't talk about is basketball, but I'm not sure why. We're all basketball lovers as well. So join the Discord if you can. Brian, what you got, sir?
Marquez Sigle, I think that's how you pronounce his name, out of Kansas State. Torrey Horton out of Colorado State. I think those are two guys to look into. Those are kind of honestly, those are two guys that I wouldn't mind the Texans looking at as well. And we don't need necessarily the same things as y'all, but we do need a lot of the similar things. We really need some interior line. We need some linebackers who can stay healthy I mean, I love Henry Toho. He's a ball player. He's not the most athletic guy. He's really not good in pass coverage whatsoever. We need some linebackers that can cover guys, especially like Travis Kelsey. If we're going to be placing in Dawson Knox, Kincaid as well. If we're going to be facing those guys in the playoffs, we got to be able to guard those guys. So we need some linebackers on that side of things. Defensively outside of that, the Texans are looking pretty good defensive back. And then on the safety side of things, Kalen Bullock obviously had a great season. Jalen Petrie is hopefully going to be back and healthy next season. He was a great kind of nickel buzz player, just a guy out there who was doing whatever he was asked to do, and he's very talented at doing so. But offensively, if we do end up trying to take a wide receiver, maybe we don't get Cup, maybe we don't bring back Diggs. I think Torrey Horton could be a good guy to find in the later rounds, but not necessarily something we need to take up front, which is kind of similar to what the Bills are looking at. Y'all don't necessarily need a guy right away in the first or second round as wide receiver, as pretty as Matthew Golden might be.
Where do you
Love
think? So I love this, Ryan. I did a short on him a couple weeks ago. Savion Williams. Cody and I talked about him on the previous show. I don't think he did anything that hurt his stock. I mean, he's a 6'4" guy, 222. He ran a 4.48 40. I was expecting 4.45 or less, but 4.48, nothing wrong with that. But his 10-yard split was off the chart, 1.52. So, dude, super quick off the line. Love it. Try to compete. Try to guard that guy. This guy here, I want to get your guys' take. Where do you see Savion Williams going? Are we going to have to take him in the second if we want him?
I think so. I think he's probably going to fall to the third. I personally wouldn't. I think he's a little bit raw and more developmental. He's kind of, everybody's comparing him to Cordero Patterson right now because he can go to the running back position, and he ran a lot there last year. But within the route running, I think there's a lot more development needed. But if you can unlock what he has in his body, I mean, it would absolutely be a smash. I do think there's a little bit more progression. I would say right now, third round pick, so you would probably have to spend a 2. But if he did fall to the fourth, that's a perfect guy that you could take as a developmental guy and eventually put onto the field if everything comes together.
Brett made this point earlier in the show, and you talk about gadget player. I feel like our gadget players as of recent have been these shorter guys, these guys that are like just shifty, quick guys that are like 5'9", $180. Total opposite here. 6'4", 222. Like you said, Cordero Patterson comps all over the place here. Definitely a difference maker. Not opposed to taking a guy like that whatsoever. Mike, you did a fantastic short on him. Check it out if you have a chance. Would be a nice get for sure.
Yeah, Cody, our friend Sean's watching this show, and he was big on Savion, and he's like, why did Cody only have a negative against Savion? Everyone else, he didn't really have a negative, but Savion, he's coming at him. So what's the beef, man? What's the beef with Savion?
I have a filter that I can never turn off in my brain, and that is Dynasty Fantasy Football. And I just don't think he's able to step onto the field day one. And so immediately, whenever you don't have that for me, it just automatically starts tanking your value down in mine because you need to start producing right away so that your value in that made up game ends up holding up. I do really like him as a developmental player. I just don't think he can step on the field day one. And that's really what I'm personally looking for.
All right. I had to put that out there. But guys, I didn't know I was going to end this, but I had to ask you, quarterbacks. I saw 3 quarterbacks run the 40. Was that it? What's going on with the quarterbacks? Are they that bad this year, or is just nobody want to run the 40? And they're yeah.
Sorry, Mike. With quarterbacks, if you're going to be drafted at any point in the draft, you're probably doing yourself a disservice by going to the combine and not just performing at your pro day. At this point, you're throwing to guys that you're throwing with coaches that everything is totally scripted. You know exactly where you're going to be putting that ball every single time. And we're in a relatively weak quarterback class. I wouldn't feel comfortable drafting Shador or Cam Ward if I absolutely had to have a quarterback. You're taking a flyer. One thing I can tell you is whoever is drafted second is probably going to be a future Hall of Famer because that just seems how it's going right now between Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud. But As far as quarterbacks are concerned, I wouldn't throw at the combine. There's no reason to. There's no reason to. I wouldn't run the 40. I wouldn't do anything. I'd interview with teams and I'd try to show them that I understand football, that I love ball. But other than that, I mean, I think you're just do it at your pro day. And that's sad. I want to see those guys out there. I want to see those guys more than anybody. The quarterbacks are the best part out there. Seeing those guys just hose the ball 65 yards, that's awesome. But it's probably a thing of the past, moving forward. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Do you feel
Sad times, man.
Yeah. We talked about this, I think, last year. Like, I don't know, if you're going to the combine, I feel you need to compete in X number of these drills. Like, for instance, Xavier Restrepo. Hopefully I got his name right. It's a guy that the Bills have talked to. Guy, all he did was bench press. There's a wide receiver benching 17. He's like, look, man, there might have been something
jocked.
wrong.
I mean, he's got the arms for sure.
Okay, so he's doing the bench press, but he runs nothing else. And maybe there's an injury behind there, but I'm like, my God, these people are just picking and choosing. And I get it. There was it Harrison last year who didn't even compete in the combine? He says, I'm too good for the combine. No need to go there. I get it. You've proved yourself. You proved your stock in college. Watch my film. You don't need to judge me at the combine. I don't know how I feel about that, but it seems to be what it is.
Sometimes, like, for instance, Xavier Restrepo, right? Like, his game speed is much better than what his 40-yard speed would be. So running the 40 would do him a disservice, especially as a slot guy. Already borderline second, maybe third rounder. I don't know exactly where he's going to fall. Good player. I mean, just incredible hands and freaking jacked out of his mind. Super shifty. And he fits that prototypical slot guy. So for him, he probably just wanted to show off the guns a little bit. I am interesting. He didn't want to do any lateral drills, like the 20-yard shuttle, the 5-10-5. I was kind of curious as to why he wouldn't want to do that, because that is like, as a slot guy, you love seeing the lateral quickness. So that was kind of interesting to me. But I agree, Mike. Will Howard, you want to talk about quarterbacks, though. I wanted to bring this up. Will Howard, he did participate in a lot of the drills. However, when he was throwing to the receivers, just really, I mean, let a lot of them fly, and they were over the heads of receivers and just did not look good. So to Baker's point, yeah, it probably hurt him a little bit just by doing those positional drills and not being with his guys.
But if you're an Ohio State fan, it was the wide receiver's fault. If you were
of course.
It was wide receiver's fault.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Look at Trek trying to ship Cam Lewis off. This is why we're so comfortable of not drafting a safety. Trek reviewer. We got Cam backing us up there. By the way, just want to go over. I don't think I mentioned the running backs that the Bills did talk to that I'm aware of, according to Syracuse.com. And those running backs were Trevor Etienne, Jordan James, and Jaden Blue. FYI.
I felt like Etienne had an interesting combine. That was one where I was like, he ran 4.42. I think the numbers were good. His positional drills weren't as good, but would be interesting. Travis Etienne's little brother, so I like it.
Jaden Blue ran a 4.38, and Etienne, actually, he also did 15 bench presses, 225.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go.
Yep.
Jaden Blue does have a fumbling problem. He did fumble 9 times I believe this season. The Longhorns lost 6 of them.
Great.
Fumbling's hard to cure. I don't know what I don't know what the cure is, but Blue has it, and I don't know. Maybe they got to duct tape that ball to him.
You guys remember Alfred Blue?
Mr. 3.1 yards per carry? Oh, I sure do. I sure do.
I just thought of that. I'm like, any relation there? I wonder. Alfred Blue. Great name.
No. And Jaden Blue is far too fast to be related to Alfred Blue.
Yeah, 4.38. That's pretty damn good, man. Yeah. But the fumbling issues, that's not great.
Jake, what could you do in the bench press? 225. How many?
I did at best. I was at, I think, 12. When I was back in the day, I did 12. Yeah, not too shabby. Right, I was $195,
Pretty good.
Now I'm like 40 pounds heavier.
I don't think I'd ever been able to lift 225 in my life. What about you guys?
12.
Cody?
Oh no, I'm a small little boy. We were probably about 6 or 8, somewhere around there. And I mean, best was probably in high school, and I was even smaller then. We're talking like 5'8", 5'9", 165. So we were pushing some weight back in high school, but it certainly hasn't been the same since then.
You cut that in half, and then maybe I have a chance. Maybe 125. What about you, Brian? Ever bench 225?
I mean, back in high school, we would max out and stuff like that in football and all that. I don't remember what my max was, but I don't bench a whole lot these days. I do. I'm an old man now, right? I mean, I just do a lot of kettlebell workouts, right? A lot of dumbbells, just
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of range of motion, stuff
Bands?
like that. Yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. Exactly.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
A lot. I've it's more of a sports rehab type workout than actually pushing weight, most of the time. So just trying to maintain, not trying to injure myself these days.
You got the copper sleeve going too, Baker?
Oh yeah. I'm basically yeah. I've got the knee brace on, everything, right?
Oh, I love it. Yes. So you played, but you played Texas high school football?
Yeah. For
That's
free
legit,
safety for
man.
a little while. Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's legit as it gets. I mean, really.
It was a good time. I mean, I think you learn a lot playing football in high school, right? I mean, football becomes God at that
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah, for real. Yeah. What high school did you go to? I don't. You don't have to share if you don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's Lamar High School, and
Oh, damn. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
in the kind of I think we've got a few guys. I think Brian Aracco went to
Yeah.
Lamar there.
Yeah.
We had a few guys that played at SMU as well. Some TCU guys as when I was on the squad. We had a really really good. I did not play with Brian Aracco. He was before my time, but we got a lot of good guys. Madison High
Another
School is
Texas.
in our district, and Vince Young went to Madison. We have Yates High School. Yates was a big basketball school. They put out some NBA guys as well. So yeah, a lot of talent in the Houston area, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Love it.
Very
Well, that
cool.
kind of does it, guys. We're gonna wrap it up. About an hour and a half here. A lot of fun talk, and again, out there in the channel, appreciate you all joining us. If you could take a second, just smash that like button for us. And again, if you're new to the channel, whether you're watching it now or whether you catch us on the rewatch, we do this every week. So join us. What you waiting for? Drop a nickel on that subscribe button. I promise it's not really a nickel. Just hit it with with your pointer on your mouse. It's absolutely free. And we appreciate all of you out there. We have a lot of fun conversations on this show, and great people joining us like Brian and Cody tonight. Thank you guys very
Hell yeah.
much. Love
Guys are
having you
awesome.
guys on there for sure.
I want to leave you with one last prospect. Just think about
Yeah,
it. Maybe watch
all
some
right.
tape on him because I love the fullback position so much.
Oh boy.
He's not actually a fullback. He's a deep tackle, but he played a little bit of that short yardage stuff. JJ Peegs. God, I mean, he's a deep tackle, Ole Miss guy. He had 7 rushing touchdowns this year, Mike. He's like 6'2", 309. He plays nose. He plays pretty much anywhere on the D line, and then he plays a little bit of fullback. He was a tight end too. He's a convert from tight
Yeah.
end.
That's
Great
that's
name. And Trek Reviewer reminded me of
Yeah.
how much I love that guy because I just went back and watched some more tape on him. Great name for you.
Check it out because he has them. He actually, I saw him in the Discord. Throw that out there. He's got him as
Yeah.
a DT, tight end, fullback.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
mean, come on. All right.
7 touchdowns this year,
I'm gonna-
rushing. Insane.
We'll check it out just because of his versatility, man. Come on.
Right?
Why
It's like the
wouldn't you?
Fridge 2.0.
He's the he's the Travis Hunter of the interior defensive line.
Yeah.
Come on, little
Who's the other kid?
Be a steal.
Trying to think of that the Chiefs player now. Big nose tackle. Good God. Would line up at full. Weston, help me out here, brother. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know what's going on. I gotta do some push-ups tonight. Oh, it's killing me.
Wait,
They
what
would line him
position?
up, and he was a
What
nose
does-
tackle for the Chiefs. This is maybe
Oh.
7 years ago or so.
Gotcha. Oh, there you go. That him?
Don Terry Poe.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Freaking Don Terry Poe. Oh yeah. Hell yeah, brother. Great.
Of course,
name.
we used to have JJ Watt going out for passes too, catching
Right, yeah.
touchdowns from Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer. There's some good times. R.I.P. Ryan Mallett.
I know. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here. We'll see all of you soon. Thanks again. Have a great night. And it's Monday, the Monday Blues. But, think about who you want in the Bills draft. And again, drop us in the comments what you thought of some of the names we threw out there, and give us some of the names, positions that you're looking for the Bills to focus on. We'll see you soon. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Happy Texas Independence Day.
I had to give them a chance to say